Hey folks, welcome back to the Hits Objective podcast, where we hit the objective and manifest the goals and dreams that we truly aspire for. Of course, I know it's been a couple of months. Life has been getting the best of me, and I mean that in the best of ways. But I'm back. I'm here to shed some light. And of course, today we're going to be talking about something very peculiar, very, I would say, relevant. And that is belief. The conscious decisions that we make, how it affects education, our life patterns, how it affects our decision making process, and what we could do to kind of align our belief with a proper life pattern. And of course, today we have a very special guest. Well, he's not a guest because he would have hosted me on his channel, but I'm just doing this for the channel so that we could ensure that we have some outreach, right? So you could check it out on his page as well. His channel, it's called Ideation. And mind you, I butcher his name. I mean, the name of his channel. I call it Ideation a good few times, but that's neither here nor there. So there's more important fish to fry out here, right? So check out the video. This one is going to be a long one. Get your coffee, get whatever it is that gets you comfortable and get a good listen. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Hello, everyone. Today on Ideation, which we will be discussing on Ideation, we discuss a lot of ideas, developmental ideas. And today we have Mr. Michael Anthony from the Hits Objective podcast. We are going to discuss topics like personal development, education, and how belief is important, and what role does belief play in formulating your worldview, and what role belief plays in education, and what role does belief play in personal development. We are looking to have a very productive conversation. We are going to go ahead from our experiences. Our knowledge will derive from our experiences. Our knowledge will derive from what we have seen based on observation and articles that we have read. And what we are aiming to do is to bring forth our experiences to help solve problems that we see in society as young people. And with that said, welcome, Mr. Anthony, Mr. Hits podcast. How are you doing this morning?
Doing pretty great, Kevin. Thanks for bringing me on this platform, Education. I appreciate the involvement. Of course, what you do and what I do generally coincides, and so I feel like this communication was super important today. Good day, everyone who follows Education, everyone who has some form of a interest in the development of young minds, old minds, if that may even be a thing, but generally in the forward thinking of a person. Welcome, and thanks for staying on board with us thus far. Myself and Kevin, we go, I wouldn't say way back, but we know each other through different platforms. It's funny that, we would have met Kevin in the youth arena, when I was part of the Youth and Sports Council of Castries. I would have met Kevin. And even prior to that, being, young males having that sporting prowess, I would have known Kevin through basketball back in my younger days in high school. So, Kevin, again, thanks for bringing me on. And guys, let's get ready for a great conversation today.
All right, thank you very much, sir. And, yeah, let's start with that. Our basketball journey. Um, when we first interacted, when we first met, what team were you playing for? What school?
It was Leones. It was Leones.
Leones, and I was playing for Beaufort Compre.
For Beaufort Compre, that's right.
The sports back then, it was so competitive. It was so
So
competitive.
competitive, Kevin.
Yeah,
So
and
competitive.
I really enjoyed it because what I understand as I grew up, what I understand that basketball did for me is that it gave me, and my book is actually inspired by my basketball journey. And
Interesting.
when I played basketball and when I left, in some sense, it was a journey out into the unknown. I played basketball and I was very disciplined because I like what I did. I was not
Yes.
disciplined because of my own will, but because of what the basketball did for me. And what did basketball do for me? It gave me an aim to work towards. It gave me a purpose.
Yes.
It gave me something. It gave me something that can only be conceptualized in my imagination. I really wanted to be a very good player. And I saw an opportunity to serve my country, to make my mother proud, to make my father proud, to make my family
Right.
proud, and then to make my school proud. People were looking up when I was playing school basketball. The people
Yes.
come around,
You were
the
good.
girls
Yes.
come around. So, it
The
made
good
me
old
proud.
days.
Yeah, it made me proud of myself. And when I look back into it and I realize there are certain components in sports, in all sports. All
Most
sports
certainly.
you have an aim. In basketball was to score. Who scores the most points?
Right.
Football, who scores the
Bottom
most
line.
goals?
Hmm.
Bottom line. Cricket, who scores the most runs, right? And we have
Hmm.
athletics, who run the fastest. So
That's
all
right.
sports you have an aim. And what when you have an aim, you now have a structure, a set of rules for everybody to play by, so that to a standard of measurement to see how are you going to get to that aim. And that
That's right.
levels the playing field for every, and that's why the competition is
Absolutely.
great. And that's the structure of the game. And then you might ask yourself, what is a game? A game is a system of rules with an aim. And
That's right.
because I was immersed in the game so much, I was able to be disciplined. I was not guided too much by what my mother tell me I should do. My own internal logic, my own internal conscience used to tell me drinking is wrong because you have to be the best basketball player. Going
Right.
to sleep too late is bad because you will be tired, and Anthony will score way too much points than
You
you.
know.
So that internal conscience, he called it that internal logic, that internal
Right.
conversation,
Intuition.
it,
Hmm.
it's actually part of working towards a valuable aim, and the
That's right.
rules that guides the valuable aim. You have to abide by those rules. We call that morality. And when I got to understand that, when I went to teachers college, I decided to write a book, and the name of the book is Purpose Driven: The Meaning of Life is Found in the Purpose to Live. Because basketball really gave me meaning in a time when meaning is required for young people. That was when I was an adolescent, and it really saved my life. All my coaches know that basketball saved my life. You see,
I'll
as a
be
young kid.
honest, I feel the same.
Mm,
Hmm. I'll be
mm,
honest, I feel the same because
yeah,
basketball, I mean, it really set the precedent for, what I would believe true brotherhood is, being on a team, having a sense of belonging and being able to serve a greater purpose, having your own purpose within that. Because, you could go for MVP, you could have your little benchmarks you may want to hit, 5 assists for the game, 10 points for the game. But the point is, it all conglomeratively comes together for a greater goal, which is, like you say, winning and scoring more points than the other team. So basketball for me as well, because I'll be honest with you during my high school, secondary school period, it was a bit erratic. There was a lot going on in my life, I would say, and then I could certainly speak on things like parenting and, and family life and domestic situations. Because at the time, my parents would have been broken up and stuff like that. And there was a lot going on at home. And I could certainly tell you basketball was kind of like you could say a coping mechanism for me to some extent. It became my first love. I'll be honest with you, basketball. Even before women, even before I had a great sense of, I wouldn't say just attraction, but the will to move towards basketball was the first will to move towards, and I feel that created a platform, a proper, foundational thought processing that leads to what we're doing right now. That leads to many great things to come. So kudos to basketball and all of our great coaches and the people who spearheaded these events and stuff. And it speaks to what we're coming to talk about today, Kevin. Belief and how this coincides with your actions and how it disposes you into a proper a future. I feel that's super important. Do you feel, Kevin, that within you know, navigating through your basketball experience, your adolescent experience, do you feel that your belief, and when I speak of belief, I mean that in a very vast sense, as in we could be talking about your creator, we could be talking about your sense of morality and moral conduct and different core values and principles. But do you feel that your belief, because you, Kevin, you are an individual, and maybe another man placed in your position or another boy at the time wouldn't have taken on the opportunity the same way. So how do you feel that belief speaks to your actions in regards to the circumstances that are presented to you? And along with having that belief, how do you feel that it aligns with your future in regards to taking these actions at that given point in time?
Yeah, I think the way I think about belief and the way I understand belief based on my reading journey, my
Hmm.
journey in trying to understand myself in some sense and trying to contribute meaningfully to society. I understand that belief is way more of your actions, your behavior, than the axioms you hold in your head, than the statements that you hold in your head. And some might say
Most
that the
certainly.
statements that you hold in your head influences your actions. But sometimes persons might be there's this thinker, Carl Rogers. He coined a word called congruence and incongruence. And what he is saying that sometimes persons might speak something and their
Right.
actions might not follow through with that thing. That means they are incongruent. They are not aligned with what they're
They
saying they
say.
align with. So your belief as is an amalgamation of what you do and what you say you will do. And that's what I appreciate the idea that the word, in the beginning was the word. The word is something that's very important. Your word says who you are. So if you
Right.
say I will do something for you and I don't, then I have a belief system that's lacking. So my belief system as an individual, I think it's grounded and again in my disposition as an individual, my
Right.
biological framework. I think so. I think your belief has to do your biology in some sense affects your ability to move and do something because sometimes me as an individual, I see myself as a winner. I see myself
Certainly.
that's how I see myself,
You
and
ought
that
to.
and 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 some persons might be threatened by that statement, and it doesn't take away from the fact that persons who use that statement before were very in a very derogatory manner. They put persons down. They destroy persons for them to win. That's not my brand of seeing myself as a winner. Seeing myself as a winner is being able to do something that is beneficial for me, that is beneficial for my community, that is beneficial for my family, that is beneficial for my society, that is beneficial for my nation, and as far as the region that I'm part of, if I have the wherewithal and the ability to go that far.
That
So
outreach.
when
Mhm.
I see myself as a winner, and how I see when I talk about myself, I don't look at me as a limiting person. I see myself as my family. I see myself as my community. All of those things, and there's this idea from Yuri Bronfenben, the thinker. It's called the ecological system theory. Don't see yourself as that one individual. You are part of you. You are identified with your community. Your community is you. Your family is you.
Absolutely.
Your society is you. All of us collectively, we are St. Lucia. So if you see yourself that way and you see yourself as a winner, those other things have to be winners as well. And that's how my belief influenced me. That my belief, the way that I see the world, I believe that the world is the way that I see my worldview in some sense. I believe that we are all able to win, and I'm going to be a catalyst and instrument of that in some sense.
Most certainly, most certainly. I appreciate that response because that speaks to confidence. And I feel what we're doing here today, Kevin, has to align with building confidence for people who don't have it. Showing them that there are loopholes and that there are, you know, channels that can be accessed to get into that point. Because, having that winning personality, Kevin, doesn't just spring out from anywhere. And I mean, it can happen for certain individuals who are born with certain gifts that we cannot deny. But for most of, I would say, most of society, especially a lot of young males, they wouldn't have had that sense of confidence. Let's just say that most of society, is being beaten down by poor parenting, poor access to a lot of social media, a lot of clickbait, a lot of crap that they have no control over. I realize that you are currently part of, I believe it's an organization for young males. What exactly is the name of it?
It's ideation. No, it's ideas for boys and men. Ideas. It's initiative for development, stewardship for boys and men.
For
So
boys and
basic,
men.
yeah, yeah. So basically, the acronym is a long one. So basically,
Right.
what we do, we have a policy, and
Mm-hmm.
our policy speaks to our developmental aims, and what we're trying to accomplish is to help. We have seen, first of all, the problem. The problem is that our young men are falling through the cracks at a tremendous level. A tremendous level. The young men are falling through the cracks at a tremendous level. And I had some books that I could show you.
Right.
That's The Boy Crisis. And part of what we did was develop that organization based on this book. It's a 500 page book. And what this book is talking about is that it gives you data that shows globally, regionally, nationally, that the male has been falling through the cracks on the level of education. We have less young men achieving tertiary level education or higher education. Men are falling through the cracks based on physical health. More men are dying early. The statistics, if you read this book, man is going to,
That's
he actually
crazy.
called this book a business book. The author is Dr. Farrell and Dr. John Gray. They actually call this book a business book because the problem is so big, it might need an amalgamation of organizations to address it. Young men are falling through the cracks in the physical health. We have the testosterone of young men are lower
Ever
in
before.
than
Mm-hmm.
ever before, 50% lower than ever before. And the mental health, a lot of men have committing suicide. Men have been
Yes.
losing their minds. Men have suffered with depression, addiction, all of those
Oh,
things.
yes.
And we talk about men's financial health that are falling through the cracks as well. Men are unable to provide for the family. The only purpose they had traditionally was to be of provision, and that is falling through the cracks as well. And those four categories, we actually wrote that into our policy. We wrote that into our constitution. We had a set of young men that they know that that's some of the things I talk about. And we registered this organization, and we are working on in Castries North and the Eastern Zone. And we're trying to bring young men into mentorship. We're trying to take them
Yes.
away from the meaninglessness, the nihilism that they face, that lack of meaning, and try to have them to look at that kind of belief that I explained to you a while
That's
ago.
what I'm
The
talking
belief
about.
that you are not only the individual, but you are the society, you are your community, you are your nation and your region, and you are given the moral responsibility to take responsibility for those things and to be of
Absolutely.
some stewardship of those things. And I think that's
Some
an
value.
interesting, and I think that's an interesting thing to tell young men. And the young men that understand that, when I speak, when I tell it to them, when they understand, because it will take a lot of educating them to understand that. Or how you mean
To
I am
begin
not,
with.
yeah, how you mean I
Right.
am not me? How you mean I
Mm-hmm.
am, but
Right.
there's a stewardship, there's a shepherd part of you that you need to integrate into your personality so that you are able to be a net good for everybody around you, even the economic value of your nation.
Most certainly. Most certainly. And I like
Okay.
to tell guys that, you walk, don't ever walk with your hands swinging.
Mhm.
It's a saying my mother would have told me all through my childhood. It's important to have some value, guys. You walk through, you go through anywhere, you part of any system, any society. It's important that you have some value, something to give back.
Mhm.
I love that initiative, bro, and I would love to know how maybe I could be part of it in some way or form, so I could serve the young males of St. Lucia for starters. Because at the end of the day, I mean, statistics could be statistics, and we don't even know where these guys get the numbers from. But the truth is, it's evident. I feel that that's what's more important, to realize that even if you didn't even read that book, that you can walk around, bro, and see that, there's a lot of need when it comes to the young male and generally what he can give back to society, and the fact that I believe that there's just not enough interest or attention given to the young males. I think it's because of, again, let's go back to belief. I feel that society believes, you see, we must have a societal shift, Kevin. That's what needs to happen. The women, the mothers, the fathers, everyone in society needs to think about it in this way. And the the problem really is that there is a societal, thought process that men are just supposed to know what to do. That, you're born, you're a male, you're a man, you could just, just urinate over there. You're a man, you could just do that. Recently, I was looking at your WhatsApp and you placed something on there which was a bit astounding to me because I wasn't even aware of it. And it spoke to, you could say the counter to menopause. What do you call it that it happens to men? I believe
Andropause.
andropause. And guys, whoever's listening, if you didn't know, guys go through something called andropause. From the early 30s, I read on it, what I saw it in his status, and I was like, but that's interesting. I didn't even really know that. And we go through that, and no one cares. No one ever talks about andropause. What the hell is that? And that's the thing, there's no interest in the male who is or who ought to be the leader. And if your leader is not in full commission, if he's not fully operational, then the whole thing is screwed up. And I think that's, we need to give more power to the young males, more extension of ourselves. And I appreciate the fact, Kevin, that, you're speaking from a place of love. I mean, we could use the semantics in many ways and use the words however we please. But when you say that someone has to feel that they're that other person. That's what Jesus did. That's what the great ones of our epics and our many eons have told us. It's about realizing, guys, actualizing that that person in front of you is you. And if you could make your life better, it could make their life better automatically. It's that domino effect. I do good, you do good. I do good, my son does good, his friend does good. And it just goes on that way. And it really stems from a place of love, Kevin. So I really appreciate that thought processing because that means you believe in love, brother. That is as simple as that. If you want to put it on layman's terms, that's pretty much what it is. So that's a great philosophy and keep that going. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, and I like the fact that I think it's a strong your ability to decode the rationalization of love. I must commend you on that because yeah, yeah, because sometimes you and 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 persons might give you an opposite argument, and that's what
Certainly, they can.
displeases me. That uh, somebody will come and say, "I love you," and I know love is strong. It's a strong concept.
Right.
It's an abstract noun in some sense, an abstract
Yes.
idea. So you need to be able to ground that abstract idea in something practical. So
Yes.
a lot of those concepts, persons can just use that word. Some person can just come and say use it, but what does that really mean? And that's where
Right.
it goes back to belief. Whether your belief is just a statement that you say, or whether it is your actions and the way that you act. So you need to be able to have
Bravo, Kevin.
not just a rationalization, but an ability to understand what it is, an ability to articulate what it is without just saying a broad term. I just this, I'm just that. So it's not
Right.
broad. I brought it down into a pragmatic manner. So I might
That's
be
correct.
bringing it to you, and I might not even tell you it's that what it is, but it's really and truly I am less courage. You can break down courage so that you can understand. Somebody can say I am courageous, but what does that mean?
What does that mean?
Somebody can say I am. But
You
what do you
understand?
what
This
do
is
you
just
mean?
semantics.
It's just
Yeah,
semantics.
how do you
Huh?
pragmatically show
Bring
this? Yeah,
bring
how do you
that.
bring this out?
And I posted something recently, and I read as an interesting thing that the part of our brain that was required for speech, it is a different part of our brain that is required for our ability to have actions. And we have overdeveloped the part of the brain for speech. So you find a
Yes.
lot of persons just talking. And we have a lot of persons who talk very well. Persons who talk
Hmm.
very well. And when you look, nothing is being done. So is
Right.
there a problem of not understanding what we're saying? Are we just using words meaninglessly? So that's one of the things that's why I explain it the way I explain it, to be able to
Yes.
understand what this is. It's not me.
Absolutely.
And that's where, and there's a Greek, I think it's a Greek story of a young man named Narcissus. And Narcissus, he
Yes.
was a
I
very,
believe.
yeah. He
Go
was,
ahead with that story because I think that name just rang a bell. I think it's from school. I remember this
yeah,
story.
yeah,
Narcissus. Go ahead.
Narcissus. And he was a very handsome young man, very handsome young man. Everybody in the community and
Yes.
his area, really was attracted to him. They always praised him on how nice he was. But because he was never seen himself, he never saw himself in a mirror. He was always confused as to why people treat him different from everybody else. And one day he went by the river, went by the well, and he saw his reflection. And he stayed by the river for days upon days, adoring his own reflection.
Yes.
And he got weak without food, without sustenance. He got weak. He fell into the river and he drowned. And that's the idea of narcissism,
That's correct. There we
narcissism,
go.
narcissistic behavior. It's only about,
Narcissism. Mhm.
yeah, it's only about you. And there are belief systems that guide narcissism so nicely,
Yes.
narcissistic behavior so nicely. And a narcissistic environment or a narcissistic organization of people cannot
Mhm.
be productive because it's only about that individual. It's not about the purpose. It's not about the mission. It's not about the greater good.
The
And
greater good.
it goes back to our team, playing on a team. The
Mhm.
team can have five fellas on that team, and then two fellas want to outplay each other. We're playing against each other, but we're not playing against the opponent. We're playing against each other.
See what happens.
I want to score more than Michael Anthony, but Michael Anthony is on the same team as me. And even when I lose, I know I have 40 points and Michael Anthony have 20 points. I'm okay. They'll tell you what happens to me. I didn't appreciate that we are on the same team and we have to work on beating the other team. I only
The
care
greater
about
goal.
yeah. I only care
Mhm.
about how I look. I only care about what I want. I only want to do things on for myself and not for the team, not for the greater goal of the team, not for the city that the team in, not for the vision that the team has. I sacrifice all of that just because I want what I want.
Yes.
And
It's
that's
a crazy
and that's
yes, that's a
hedonism in some sense. That's hedonistic
yes,
behavior.
most certainly. That's a crazy phenom because you wonder like why wouldn't someone want to why wouldn't we all want to win? You know, and then it goes back again to the whole fact. And I think it speaks heavily to a lack of self-love. You know, people might the media has made it seem as if self-love and individuality speaks to a higher sense of self-graduation, and that, you know, when you love yourself, you know, that is really and truly the ultimate fulfillment that life can offer. But the truth is, it's supposed to be the inverse. I mean, self-love is really supposed to breed more love through your actions and stuff like that. And you find that, you know, why would you want to outplay your brother, you know, to be called a MVP when you could be called a champion? And guys don't understand that. And again, it's because of us falling so deeply into the wordplay and the, you know, the semantics of things, and again, not really understanding the true practicality behind having these types of principles, and more so these types of beliefs. You know, it's important to have a grounded belief of togetherness, because at the end of the day, we're all on the globe together, Kevin. And then, you know, irrespective of us having, you know, certain, you could say, let's just say positive, you know, having this positive banter or positive, you know, we have sometimes some friction between each other because of, you know, certain things, whether it may be contending in sports or educational prowess. But the point is, if your duty here is to serve not just yourself, but the greater and wider world around you, every single action you put into your belief, and again, actions, you put in actions into your belief, because like Kevin said, a belief could just be a blanket thing. It's just, you could just say what you want to say a million times, but you have to put action behind the belief. Only when you put action behind the belief will you really reap the true rewards and the benefits from these actions. You know, so I like to consider having a proper mental culture the first point of you know of of self evolution. You know, you have to kind of firstly secure your mindset, secure the way you think, understand certain core values in life. And again, guys, if you don't have proper parents or proper brothers or friends who speak to this notion of self, you reach out to a guy like Kevin, you reach out to a guy like me. There are organizations and there are people out there who actually want to take you in, who want to mentor you, who want to make you a part of something, and who want to see the best from you, and not just, you know, you just doing what you want. Because life could just be about what you want. But again, if we're speaking about the greater good of a life, Kevin, it really has to speak to every single person understanding their purpose, applying their purpose, and doing it all together. That's conglomerative as a collective. That's really what it is. So how can we bridge the gap with having, you know, be, a belief system that you've had for the last 20 years of your life, and knowing that there is possibility, there's greener grass on the other side, but there's a huge gutter that you must cross. How do you cross that gutter, Kevin, if you don't have a hand, if you don't have someone to pull you up? How do you do that?
That's a very good question. And I think you are very skillful. I think you're very skillful in having those conversations. And we should continue
Definitely.
expanding on something like that. But that's a very good question. I'll give you a story, and it's a
Yeah.
biblical story. And
Okay.
I love the Bible. I love reading the Bible. Like I said, my MO is
Hmm.
pragmatic, to be very pragmatic.
Of
And I know a
course.
lot of people have turned their backs on biblical wisdom because they're hurt by persons that speak the Bible in a very unpragmatic manner. But I'm a
Hmm.
very practical person. So when I read the Bible in a very, very practical way. If there's
Okay.
something that is not practical to me, probably I don't understand it. Why would a book stay for like 2,000 years and it doesn't serve in any pragmatic sense? And that's my MO when I used to the
Okay.
Bible. But based on your question, I'll give the story of Moses and Pharaoh. And
Okay.
Pharaoh well, we know that story. Moses was born in Egypt, and
Yes.
Moses left because there was a calling, there was an insight into his own individual
Path. Hmm.
life
Hmm.
that things are not supposed to be that way. But who I want to really focus on based on your question is Pharaoh. If you look at the characteristics of Pharaoh, Pharaoh is the overall king. Pharaoh coined himself as God. And what this represents is that not even the representation at this point, the biblical story shows that whatever Pharaoh says goes. Pharaoh acts like he has knowledge of everything, and he knows everything. He is a divine God, and nothing cannot escape his consciousness. He knows everything, and what he says, that's the divine law, that's the divine principle. And when the children of Israel, when Moses came to Pharaoh and said the children of Israel should say, let these people go and stuff like that, one of the things that he did, he sent them to create bricks without straw. And that's a form of meaningless work. So he didn't want to hear that God wanted him to let the people go, and so that not to let the people go so that they could do what they want and serve themselves. If you look at in the Bible, God said, let my
Hmm.
people go so that they can worship me in the wild, so that they could worship me, whether it is in the wilderness or not. And Pharaoh was very distraught about that. He didn't want to have somebody above him. He didn't want to succumb himself to a higher God. Now let's look at it in an analytical manner. And that's the
Yes.
way I make it practical, to think about it in an analytical manner. When you have your ego, a lot of us grew up in communities, and I grew up in a rough community as well. Not so rough, but Dennery, and when I was
Right.
growing up, things
Hmm.
that was happening there.
I mean, growing up in St.
And
Lucia, it could be rough overall,
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So you are born to a mother and a father. Some of us we do not have a father in the home, and there are all
Yeah.
what we know is one point of view. We know one belief. We know one mode of being, one
Right.
worldview, and to let that worldview go, or to see that something is wrong with the way that you were brought, or that you were brought up, or
You know things generally. Hmm.
the axioms that you hold in the back of your head. Men not supposed to go to school, men not supposed to read, and all of you have a lot of axioms that are not making any sense. Probably your
That.
uncle, your drunk uncle gave it to you. Probably your abusive father probably gave it to you, and you have
Yeah,
those
bro.
axioms in your head, and it make up your ego, what you know about yourself.
Hmm.
Now the problem is that ego, and I call it the fear, letting go of that ego, because the ego think it knows everything. The ego acts like a way, I know everything. All what I know is what's real. So to
Right.
let that go, to let that ego die, and to go and search for things that you don't understand, or to update your worldview, or to see things in a better manner, is even a difficult thing, especially for men, and based on how the mind works. I'm reading this book called the teaching the male brain, the way the male brain, it's kind of difficult for men to journey into the unknown, call it that, let go of that ego. For example, when I was going to teachers college, when I was Denver, I went from Denver, I was going to teachers college. It was such a difficult thing for me because I was a specific socioeconomic status. And people around me don't. They tell me, you're going to teachers college, big man like you, going to school,
Right.
you have to be on the block, man. You have to go and look for you. But I say, like, but because I was
Right.
just about 18, 19, so my father was telling me I'm not supposed to go to school. Everybody does that. That's not something that we do here.
Right.
Who are you to think that you could go to school? So that's the ego of that place. Like, you're not supposed to do that. But me as an individual, I think that's my adaptation. I love to investigate the unknown. And I went into the unknown. I am going into the unknown is it's not an easy thing. Letting go of your ego. You don't know who you are. You're in the wilderness. And that's where the children of Israel, when they left Pharaoh, they end up being in the wilderness. They end up
Right.
being where they don't know what is and what should be.
Right.
So when you let go of your ego, you don't know who you are. You don't know who you should be. You don't know where you should go. And that's where you meet in what I would call the higher principle, God in some sense. And you
I
begin to let
understand.
go of where you are. Certain things, certain little things people hold. Little, it's so difficult just to let
Yeah,
go of
the
a thing
routine. Yeah, bro.
because you have to be sympathetic with them because it's like looking at it like
Isn't it?
being on an island and you are on an island and everywhere around you is water. They have sharks in the water. You have alligators in the water, and here is somebody coming and tell you jump into the water, swim to the next place. You would be mad to do that. You would stay on that island. You would stay
Right.
on that island and
Prefer
you will not
safety.
leave. You will become a vagrant, and that's what you become when you get attached to your ego. You become a
Right.
vagrant, you become hungry, you become
That's right.
addicted because you're not supposed to be there in your stage of development. And let me say just one more thing. There is this theorist that I like so much, psychosocial development. It's called Erik Erikson. And he was talking about that, the different stages of the ego. And he was saying that at every stage, you must let go of that specific stage to go to the next stage of cognitive development.
Most
Piaget
certainly.
spoke about the same thing. You have to let go of the way you see the world and to adapt to another way the world is. And even biblically, it said it. The Bible said, when I was a child, I act like a child. Now I am an adult, I put away childish things. And that's one of
There we
the
go.
biggest problems. Men are afraid to let go of who they were to adapt
Right.
to become something more responsible, something better. And that's part of the adaptation of young men.
I appreciate that answer. And that speaks to I read a book by Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth, and he spoke heavily on letting go of the ego. The ego, I believe, is and the thing is you can't really fully get rid of the ego. That's the truth. Because the ego has some responsibility where, I would say your personality to some degree is considered. Unless, of course, you have transcended the ego to the point where you in Christ consciousness, maybe, and certain worldly things do not appease you or do not attract you in any way. So the ego definitely has some form of responsibility when it comes to you having certain preferences in life and certain things. But at the end of the day, that is so correct, brother. Because, the ego is what's keeping us down. Guys, if you're at that gutter where you've been there for 20 years, you've been doing this thing for 20 years, and suddenly Kevin Mathurin, the author of Purpose Driven, is telling you, hey, this is what you could do to channel yourself through the next step. It really is true. The gutter is your ego. That's the gutter between you leaping. It's taking a leap of faith, like he said, and it's very true. You don't always have to know what's on the other end of things. You just have to know that it's better. And once you know that, you need to take that leap of faith and emanate a sense of true self-love that can allow you to springboard you into that action, because otherwise, you're just going to be stuck on that island. And yes, you might be eating coconuts, but at the end of the day, you could be eating steak and something else over there, and you don't even know that. So it's the question is how important is your future to you? That's a very important question to ask yourself as a young man or young woman today, listening to this show on this platform. What how important is your future to you? Amidst all of what's going on there, all of the belief systems that are around you and the things that, seem clear and things which seem unclear. What gives you purpose in this journey? And how important is tomorrow to you? If tomorrow is very important to you, if tomorrow is undoubtedly as important as right now to you, you will make the necessary steps. And then that's what it is. So, I appreciate people like yourself, Kevin, myself, people who've come from, a place where seemingly the result could have been different, right? You could have just been another VNegg on the side of the road, brother. You could have just been just another guy, just a regular person, but you chose to be extraordinary, and that's what took you out of whatever circumstances would have spoken to whatever results may have been there, whatever these people thought. Again, and that's the thing, guys. You need to be able to break through and not break down. When you see things happening around you, you have to be able to. I like what Kevin said. Use adaptation at its finest in its finest forms. Tell yourself, if you're in a swamp with alligators, are you an alligator? Or are you a lion? Or are you an eagle? What are you? So you need to define yourself and not with the ego, but define yourself with purpose. Define yourself from a place, a place of core love, a place of a place of action, like Kevin is saying. Because again, we could talk all the nice flowery speeches and have all the philosophy in the world. You could just go on Google, guys, and type a bunch of quotes, and you will get some very interesting, things that could trigger your. But at the end of the day, what is inspiration if it is not backed by action? What is an aspiration if it is not backed by a goal, a true, a true solid result? And that's what it really is. So, and Kevin, I speak this way, and I am not even I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a secular individual, or I have this, I agnostic mentality when it comes to belief of the higher power. I mean, I would definitely say that I'm not necessarily a direct believer in Jesus Christ, and I would speak on this specifically as it pertains to Christianity as a whole. I believe that Jesus was there and he was a guided messenger. That's what I believe. But at the end of the day, irrespective of all these guided messengers we have had from the beginning of time, it comes down to you and me right now having this conversation and whoever's listening. And guys, the messages are there. Like Kevin said, the Bible has been there for about what 2000 plus years going on, right? That predates that actually. But at the end of the day, you wonder why is all of this information there at our fingertips, and we choose to meddle in things that are not helpful for us. You know what I'm saying? We need to meddle in things that are helpful for us. Read the Bible, read a good book, purpose driven, Kevin. Can we get it on Amazon? Or how do we get your book? If I want to get my hands on purpose driven, do you have hard copies? How do we get our hands on your book?
Yeah, we have I have copies with me, but we also have it on Amazon as well. If
Okay,
anybody is listening and they would like to purchase a book or read the book, you can always reach out to me. I'll put the link of the book in the bio. And
great.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, let's definitely do that. You see,
yeah.
so again, guys, it's about actioning your thought processing on your life, like your future. Read his book, buy his book, read the Bible. Sometimes it's at your home, it's free, it's taking up dust. Read a good quote and then put action behind it. Kevin, a lot of the times, I like that you spoke on this narrative of talking, and what did you say it was congruence? What was his name?
In Carl Rogers,
Carl
incongruent.
Rogers.
Yeah.
Incongruence. Guys, let's not be incongruent. I love the fact that I'm learning new words from you, Kevin. Because you see, and that's what they say, it's good to be around people and to network with people that you can take something from, guys. Stop hanging around people that don't give anything to you. And when I say that, I don't mean to be there are some people, Kevin, who tend to be opportunists. They just want to be in your space because you could give them something. Again, it's about having that re re reciprocity in your actions, being able to give and receive at the same time and showing that, you can use whatever is given to you for the greater good, for the betterment of yourself and others, your wider community. So I really wanted to take some actions on what you've said today, Kevin, even in my own personal life, I feel like I've been doing some talking, and I mean, I've been doing the youth work, and I've been doing a lot of things. But I've sometimes you feel like you could do more, right? Sometimes we limit ourselves because again, I don't know if it's maybe us meddling into distraction too much, or perhaps not really having a clear idea of what we want, which is super important. Guys, read it, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. You must have a definite idea of what you want. That's the only way you're gonna
Definiteness,
get it.
definiteness of purpose.
There you go, my brother. That's what I'm talking about. And without that, it's just going to be a recurrent expression of emotion for you, and not of true value and
And we
true
go back
material value.
and we go back to the idea of the game. We go back to the idea of the game. You must have, if you cannot play a game without knowing what you're trying to
What the
do,
rules are.
what you're trying to do. The rules guide what you're trying to do, but
You
I'm either trying to
understand?
score goals, I'm either trying to score big runs, I'm either trying to run a fastest time, and that now structures your day, it structures your mind, it structures your perception. But
That's right.
you cannot have a perceptual framework, a belief system, or
Mhm.
conceptual framework. All those words means the same thing. You cannot
Right.
have that without having a definiteness of purpose, without having a goal,
Must,
without having a
must,
mission.
guys.
You cannot have that.
That's right.
If you do not have
Must
a
have a
mission,
mission.
you are what Viktor Frankl called and nihilism, what
Ah,
Carl Jung called general neurosis, and what Friedrich Nietzsche called existential crisis. All of those thinkers call that the same thing. They give it different
right.
words, like you saying correctly. We can use different words, but it always goes back to the fundamental idea. No goal, no positive emotion, only negative emotion. You have to run behind the negative emotion with addiction because you don't have a goal. Biologically, when you have a goal, when you have a vision, when you have a mission, and you're moving towards it, the positive emotion you look for in hedonic pleasures like drugs, like alcohol, like over utility of sex. Those same emotions,
Right.
you get it when you are moving towards the goal. And you get it even stronger when the goal is not only for you, when the goal is for your family, your community, your nation, and you create a network of people around you, you build a proper character, and that's where you have necessary power.
Brother, you need a round of applause. You need a round of applause. Guys, you just heard it. That's the formula. And if you didn't hear it properly, just play it over again because you can. That is the formula right there, bro. And a lot of the times they make it seem like it's so difficult. I think the hardest part again is to create or to curtail the proper mental culture to access that very formula. And
Yeah,
that's what it
yeah.
is. And that starts with a habit, bro. You really have to start small, sometimes if you're not again in the habit of being a winner, if you're not in the habit of being someone who channels his goals and his wants and his needs, his desires at his highest degree, you have to start very small. Start making very small adjustments in your life. Doing the little things so the bigger things can happen later. That's really what it is. Because I appreciate that thought processing, brother. That, at the end of the day, you have to do you for me and you. It's about the collective, brother. It could never be anything else because at the end of the day, you have boys, right? You have kids, right?
Yeah, I have two
You know,
boys.
exactly. Every person you touch in your life, Kevin, your boys are going to be touched by them in some way, whether it may be directly or indirectly. Everything we give, guys, into society and we pour into this world is going to affect our loved ones. It's going to affect the people that are around us, the people that we hold most dearly to our hearts. So again, it's about kind of channeling that energy and being an example for your community and the ones that are coming up behind you. So that's really what I'm trying to do here with my life path because again guys, we're going to pass away at some point. It's all going to happen. We're only here for a certain period of time, and you have to make this legacy great. Make this something that was worth your while. You wouldn't have wanted to stay here for 60, 70 years, Kevin, and then all you came out with was a couple of birthday drinks and like you said, hypersexuality, and just all you did was smoke and drink your whole life through, and you really didn't express the core essence of yourself and your purpose. That's what we're here for. And if we could all do that at the same time, this utopia that's been spoken about in the Bible, that's been spoken about in many different epics of life, it's possible. It is possible, but it starts with
That's it.
you.
That's the idea. That's the idea of heaven on earth in some sense.
There you go, brother. That's what it is.
Because the
And
fundamental prayer is saying, "Thy will be done on earth as
as
it
it
is, it
would.
is in heaven.
As
We pray
that's
that
correct.
all the time.
All the time. And we don't, and you see what you're saying, Kevin, we don't try to actualize these words. We always just hear the words and we sing it like a song, but you don't really realize what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it is, brother. And
Yeah.
that's what Jesus was trying to do, trying to communicate Christ consciousness to the masses, to the diaspora at the time, because at the end of the day, like he was saying, I am me, you are me, basically. You we are all one. We are
Yeah,
all
but
one.
the story he had when there's a story of the Bible. Like I said, I love the Bible, and you're making a lot
Mhm,
of sense. There's a story where
mhm.
there was a man, and somebody will get it correctly. And then he met the man. He was talking, and he told the man that he will come to visit him at his house. I don't have it correctly, but I read
Okay.
it a long time ago. It's something of that sort. And he told the man, "I will be visiting you later," and stuff like that. And the man went, because the man knew it was Jesus. The man went and, he bought all of the nice things. He created a nice meal. He put the best wines, the best water, the best all of that, the best clothes and stuff. But while he was waiting for Jesus, somebody came in and somebody said, can I, I'm wet. Can I get some dry clothes? He said,
Ah, I remember that
well,
story.
no, and the clothes I have there is I'm waiting for someone. And the person came and the next person said, well, I'm really hungry. Can I get some food? He said, well, no, I had prepared a meal for someone. And the next person come on, you get the gist of that.
Of
And then the
course.
next person, and then when he came and when I think he came or he did not come, something like that. But the idea was like,
It was
when,
him. Hmm.
when he interacted with that man again, I tell you, I'm getting goosebumps. Interacted with that man again, and he said, um, "Did you did you do what you do to the persons you met tonight? You did unto me. Did you take care of them? Did you give them the food? Did you give them the clothing? Did you give them? When you do that to them, that's like doing it to me."
That is
And that
correct.
speaks to the same idea. That
Yes,
speaks
my
to the
brother.
same subsidiary responsibility. And that idea can be grounded in political areas as well. It's called subsidiary responsibility. The
Hmm.
janitor is responsible for the school just as much as the principal is responsible for the school. That's the idea. It's
And,
not
and
that you
that's correct.
not that you have a hierarchical, oh, the principal is so much better than the janitor because she doesn't have 10 degrees and she didn't go to
Right.
16 PhDs and all of that. She's as responsible for the school because sanitary saves more lives than doctors do.
Oh, for sure, brother. You see, we don't look at it that way, Kevin. It's because,
Yeah.
again, because of that hierarchy that we've set in society. We've placed people in categories, and we've stereotyped people because of their job description and things of the sort. But the truth is, without garbage men,
Mm,
we'll be living in filth. Most of us would be dead.
mm,
You probably need more garbage men than you need more presidents, and that's
thank
and
you.
that's the truth. So people, we don't see that sense of truth, but at the end of the day, that's what it really is, and it happens in nature all around you in the ecosystem. You realize that everyone is as important as the next.
Mm,
And the moment we could realize that, we can show each other more appreciation,
yeah,
and we can get out of life more than we're getting right now.
yeah.
you know right now, especially, again, guys, we have to talk on the young males. Kevin, is so important because you know I heard in the news recently that we have a steady decline in the birth rate in St.
Mm,
Lucia.
yeah.
And that's a huge topic. That's something we can definitely delve into deeply, maybe today or another one of our encounters. But
Mm,
I definitely believe that speaks to, again, the downturn of the male. The fact that we again have no faith or no belief that the man can do what he has to do, or the man has no belief in himself, to the point where now, to people making children, even supporting life, which is pretty much our primary function here, has become so difficult. you know so in order for us to, again, speed past that issue, that huge conundrum that we're faced with, we have to kind of start laying down the foundational blocks for ourselves in regards to being the best that we could be, so that we can eventually, d- you know reflect this in our actions in regards to these types of issues, crime, the birth rate. A lot is going on, and again, it's because again I believe it strongly it's because of the lack of belief in men. I feel that that's a big issue that we're dealing with right now. What do you think could be a what do you think, Kevin, could be like a proper suggestion for that very issue that we're experiencing right now with the whole birth rate thing? And what do you think that problem stems from men not being their best at this time, or do you think it's just strictly something economical, because of hyperinflation, people just don't want to spend money that they don't have? Do you think it's something that runs far deeper than that?
The birth rate, let's first of
Mm,
all look at the amount of young people and young men, to be more specific, that we are losing in our society.
yes.
I teach at the RC Boys Primary School, and that school has a population around about 300 boys. But you can, starting from 2016, 2017, you can count the amount of young men that we have lost every 4 years. And you are going to see that we are losing at least 290 to 300 young men every 4 years.
What?
That's the statistic.
In St. Lucia?
290, yep, St. Lucia. Statistic is
That's
there.
crazy.
You can go and look at the statistic. You can go and look at the news online. You can go and look at every year. We had about 3 years, we lost the 70 something. A year we
That's
lost
true.
60.
That's
Another year
true.
we lost 50.
And these are all
We are
young men.
young men. We are losing about 290 to 300 young men every 4 years. And that's not even talking about the young men that are in prison. The young men that are in prison. So while you have our birth rate decreasing, you have our death rate increasing, and
Increasing
that's
and
not making
incarceration.
an incarceration. So if you ever think that you do not have a problem to solve, spend some time thinking about that, and if you don't get nightmares, you might not understand that our civilization is on the brink of collapse, and we need
Yes,
some heroes. We need some
we
serious
need
men
to.
to. We
Oh
need some
boy,
heroes.
we need some heroes,
We
man.
need some heroes. So to answer your question, I think it goes deeper into why are young men turning their backs on institutions. Young men are turning their backs on institutions. Young men do not trust the institution anymore. Young men do not trust governments. Young men do not trust the education system. Young men do not want to participate in any structural organization. They are out. That's what they are, out of organizations. And
Right.
and it goes back, and I'm going to tell you something. I just want to make sure I don't want to quote it wrong. It was reading this book by Dr. Miles Monroe, The Fatherhood Principle, the principle of fatherhood, and this other book, Better Dads, Stronger Sons. And what they're
Hmm.
talking about is when a young man doesn't have a father figure in the home, and that's how they conceptualize the idea of the father. It's one thing to have a man in the house, and another thing to have a father. A father is a consciousness of a man. Just like a
Yes.
male is not a man, a male is a species, but a man has a specific thinking, and the man now transfers that thinking to take care of his young, that he becomes a father. You can have a
Right.
male and not a father. All right.
That's right.
So in those books, they were saying that the father represents authority, the authoritative figure. That's
Hmm.
why they conceptualize God as God the Father. That's why God
Right.
is not a mother. Your father is you're the leadership in your home, the head of your
Certainly.
home, the authoritative figure, the one that says, the one that set the laws
The
and set
final
the
say.
boundaries, the
Hmm.
final say. That's why the law itself is conceptualized as the feminists called our system that is guided by law the patriarchal order, and
Right.
that's what they're referring to, the law, the
That's what they're.
patriarchal order. So
Right.
those are things that are masculine. Those are masculine in nature, and Mother
Right.
Nature itself is the mother. So we don't want to go to that point. The point that I want to make is that when a young man is lacking the father in the home, what happens? He doesn't have a relationship with structure. He doesn't have a relationship with order. He doesn't have a
Right.
relationship with laws. He doesn't know, he doesn't have a relationship with morality. He doesn't know what to do, when to do it, how to do it. He doesn't have a valuable aim. He's not working towards anything. He's tied, clenched to the breast of the mother. He's in love
Right.
with his emotions. He's very impulsive. He's very erratic. He doesn't stand on principle, So
That's
when
correct.
he lost that relationship with the father, as we can see, we have a lot of single parent homes in our society.
Right.
when he lost that relationship with the father in the home, he goes out to the classroom. And when the teacher tell him, sit down and behave, that's strange. How you tell me to say, I can be running around and do whatever I want. I teach at an all-boys school. I'm speaking from experience now.
Oh,
And when you
yeah.
speak to the parents, oh, his father is not at home. The mother will give you some soft story as why he's doing everything in the house. And when you as a male teacher come and say, John, you're supposed to sit down, you're supposed to go. John is watching you like, sir, are you mad?
Yeah, like, what
Sir,
is this?
what you say?
Right.
Now he's trying to defy authority. He's trying to feel like authority is against him. He's trying to feel like he's trying to do what he wants. He's
And that
shaking
starts
because
from so early.
his mind is not conditioned to be able to know that there's an authoritative figure. Now, if that is not addressed in the school, now he goes to the society. You ask yourself, who's the authoritative figure in the society? The policeman. The policemen are the authoritative figure in the society. So you find them being always in trouble with the
With the
authoritative
police.
figure, which is the police. So it's 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 well documented. So
Oh my God.
we have failed on the
What a
level of the family.
process.
We have failed on the level of the family. We have
Mm-hmm.
failed on the level of the education system. We have now our society. Now, what are all those things driven by? Those things are driven by a system of ideas where the liberalization, moving away from the traditional point of view, how things should be done. Let children do what they want. Children are
Right.
free to choose. So all that liberalization that comes from North America and
Right.
Canada, well, Trump
Yes.
throw it out now. Trump throw it
Yeah,
out now.
which I mean, I'm not necessarily a big fan of Trump, but he has certain principles that I definitely believe in. Because there are some things,
Because you're a man. You're a
yeah,
man and
precisely. Like, come on, man. There are some things you have to keep, and I can appreciate the ever-evolving world,
Mhm.
Kevin, because the world starting from, 0 BC to now is a completely different place. And that's full well understood. But there are certain laws of nature, and I think what human beings have tend to do is compartmentalize themselves and taking themselves out or taking ourselves out of this, this entire circular process of the laws of nature. We believe we are above it. We have this anthropocentric mentality that we are the center of the universe and that everything is below us.
Narcissistic.
Narcissism at its finest. There you go again. And that's the problem. Because guys, I mean, come on. We we can definitely do better than that, brother.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what happened in the Garden of Eden when God told them not to go over into this tree over there, and they decide they can create their own morality. We as human beings today are creating our own morality. There's nothing new under the sun, my brother. We have done it
Precisely.
before, we are doing it now. We are trying to define the moral framework and not realizing that there are fundamental elementary
Fundamentals.
ideas grounded in principles
And
that
that's
not
just it.
supposed to be tampered with.
That's
Number
just
one,
it,
the
brother.
family structure. You cannot tamper with the family
No.
structure. You cannot tamper with the minute you tamper with the family structure or you try to rewrite the family structure based on what you want it to be. It's a trickling effect.
Brother, that's
And
the
men
basis
need to
of
stand up.
yeah, that's it. I mean, tampering with the family structure, bro, is tampering with the basis of our life basically our entire life path.
Hmm.
That changes the thought processing, it changes the culture, it changes, and that's the thing. Again, it goes back to where we started this conversation from the belief. These guys who are in power now, these guys who have the power, they're not in power. You're in power if you want to be, by the way. They have the power right now to do certain things. They believe that, again, this diversity in action and stuff. Again, we can appreciate certain things. They believe that this is the way, but this is not the way. And then you're only going to get caught up having disrespectful children, having disrespectful wives, having disrespectful, friends, because again, we have seasoned ourselves mentally and taken ourselves away from certain traditions that are core values. Guys, there's nothing that could beat a nuclear family structure. Period. Point blank. Nothing that could beat it. Maybe with the exception of an extended family structure, which I can appreciate because yes, a village is super important. That definitely can speak to something else. But at the end of the day, the nuclear family, having a mother, a woman, a man, a father, and like Kevin is saying, not just having them as a physical representation, but more so a representation in actuality, in pragmatism, that they serve their very roles. Yes, there are roles. Yes, a mother cannot be a father, and a father cannot be a mother. There are things that your wife only can do, Kevin, about your kids, and there are things that only you could do with proper effectiveness. Again, that's what it is, guys. We're trying to be as effective as possible.
Mm.
And there is no way you could be super effective by stringing along these hybrid types of family systems. Right now, everyone is interested in co-parenting. It's like, I like to see that person. I'll just have a kid with them and then I'll just take care of my kid on the side. And, it's like people have such weird, and again, you live your life however you please. That's all well and good. But if we are talking about these core issues, guys, like crime, what we just spoke on, 200 and every 4 years, come on, we do not have enough people here to support that. That's why there are not enough kids being born, because there are not enough fathers to make kids. There's not enough people there to spearhead family groups and do things like that. So, it has to come from a space again of understanding that this is a collective movement, that your move and my move will affect his move and will affect her move. And so we need to, like they say, when you're on the road and in defensive driving, when you go to driving school, you drive for the other people. You don't just drive for yourself. You know what I'm saying? You're on
Principle
this road
again.
and you
Another
that's right, brother.
principle.
Another principle to fully, make you understand to dissect this principle. Like, guys, again, you need to understand what you're saying. Otherwise, you won't be able to do what you're saying.
Thank
You
you.
know, and I really appreciate what we're talking about today, Kevin, because I feel like this requires so much more intervention, so much more involvement, especially from government groups and private entities that have a certain level of influence. I feel that it should be more about doing these types of things and just about parties and and raising the GDP, because guys, the GDP extensively will not be it will not be established in a proper form if we don't have a proper workforce, and that in itself stems from, again, a proper mental culture, which stems from a proper family unit, and so on and so forth. So it really all just comes in together, and it starts from me and you. It starts from us, Kevin, you being a proper father figure at home, myself being a proper father. I'm not a dad as yet, but I have nieces, nephews. I do youth work, and so I believe, again, like Kevin was saying, you might be a male, but you could be a father figure. We need more mentors out here for these boys. Um, they need someone they could talk to, someone they could reach out to that could give them a positive feedback on, what to expect from this life, what actions they could take in regards to the circumstances they're faced with right now, and how they could use that to, kind of springboard them into action, you know. So I feel like these conversations need to be had more, Kevin, even on a governmental level. Instead of these guys always screaming at each other at Parliament, let's let's start talking about what actions we can take for this youth. Because when you all pass away 20 years later, these are going to be the leaders of today, of the today at the time. And if that's what we're working with, Kevin, then we are doomed. Our future is doomed. You
No,
know?
just to end, let me know. That's a very good
Mhm.
point. How can you see me and you, based on with what is already being done, because we're a collect, and again, like I tell persons that work with me, it's not a my thing. My philosophy is
Right.
practical all around. It's not a my thing. It's that's I'm going to live here, and this thing will still be there. It's not a my thing. So
Yes.
how can you see? You can come on board and we can collaborate. We have something coming up in December on our financial mandate to help develop the financial aspects of men. We have something coming up in the pipeline. And how can you see we continue spreading the message with our content creation, our podcasting, and what we can put our feet on the ground doing. We have a registered organization. We have already have the launch. We launched Fathers Saves Lives at the NSDC, and we are looking to do some other things. We have some other men who have registered with us. We have a WhatsApp group, and we're looking to put things in place so that what we're discussing here can be in practicality. People will not only watch us on YouTube,
Absolutely.
just talking on YouTube, but they're going when they see us in public, they will be seeing us doing exactly what we say we'll do. And that's how the digital and the physical world can merge. We come here and we discuss what we do,
Coincide.
and we
Hmm.
go ahead and we get it
We
done.
can
And
show
that
it.
they can
Right.
specify ourselves, give ourselves a necessary mission and vision. And how can you see we
Yes.
collaborating together? Because
Yes, man.
a mind like yours, and an ability to articulate yourself like yours is required in whatever we are going to undertake moving forward.
Endeavors. Yes, brother. Well, absolutely. I'm all in already, Kevin. I'm sold. I'm sold. You already have me. You already have me by the brain cells here, because what you're doing. And then if you guys, if you go to my channel, Hit Subjective Podcast, episode number 1, I speak about this, that you like-minded people will, we will just, there's a certain magnetism, guys, and a certain hidden intelligence in you doing things and being the core you in your most genuine way. And I'll tell you guys that people that speak to the purpose that you speak to will always connect with you. So Kevin, this is just to say that I am fully on board. Let me know where I could sign up. I'd love to be a talking a mouthpiece for you guys, or wherever my expertise can extend this movement, our movement, your movement, into something greater. I am fully available and willing. So I mean, I don't know when your next your next
Our
I'm not
next
sure when you guys have your next
our next meeting is
meeting
Monday.
or
Yeah, next meeting is Monday coming. We will
Monday coming.
yeah.
You guys meet in the physical or do you do digital?
We normally meet in the digital, but because of the nature of what we're about to do, we're planning on
Yes,
meeting
it
in
requires
the
a personal
physical. Yeah,
link up.
yeah, physical.
For
All
certainly.
right.
All
Yeah,
right. So you said it's going to be Monday.
Monday. But we can
All right.
discuss. We can discuss
We
the
can discuss
logistics. Yeah,
timing,
yeah.
absolutely. But
All right.
I'm fully on board, bro. I'm ready to go because again, it's about championing things in practicality, and then again, not just talking about it, but from henceforth, we can use this platform again to create awareness, and that's what it is. A
Discuss
lot of people
issues.
just don't know.
Discuss
That's what it
issues.
is.
Let's
That's
discuss
right.
issues. So we're going to
That's
see
right.
issues happening. We have those men, like you said, screaming at each other 24/7, and they're not discussing the core ideas. That's why my channel, Ideation, I want to discuss ideas. I want to break down what the words mean. I want to break down what democracy means.
Yes.
I want to break down how
Yes.
democracy, I want to break down what feminism mean. I want to break down what traditional values mean. I want to break
Yes.
down these ideas of multiculturalism. I want to break down these ideas to understand those ideas pragmatically so that we can apply it into our
And
policy
use
for us
it.
to make
Yes,
social
brother.
change, not just talk. There's a lot of people that talk so well, bro.
Yeah,
There's a lot
man.
of people that use jargons upon,
Oh, and
especially
they
the
know the
religious
words.
types,
Right.
especially the
Oh,
religious people.
especially them.
Bro, they talk and they tell you things, and oh my
And
God,
quotations and quotes and
and
quotes and but nothing behind it. Empty vessels make the loudest noise.
so I
So
don't want to be that. I don't want to be
no, not
just
at
come here
all,
and
brother.
talk and talk and
Not at
talk
all. Not
and
at
talk.
all.
We're going to move. I'm a mover. Like you
Yes,
remember,
bro.
when we
Yes,
started,
bro.
I was a basketball player. I was a very aggressive
I've
player.
always seen you in action, brother. I've never seen every single time I've encountered you, Kevin. Guys, every single time I encountered Kevin, he's been doing something, and more so something positive. Basketball, youth work, these are the two arenas that I know Kevin within, and these are two arenas that I appreciate and I have a passion for. So again, that's what it's about, bro. It's about doing, not more so more do. How can a blind man or a deaf man be effective?
Yeah,
Because he can do.
yeah,
What if we couldn't say anything? We
yeah,
couldn't use our tongues. Would we then be completely useless? No. Let's do something. So,
yeah,
brother, I'm there with you. Let me again, we'll discuss the logistics on a personal call, but I'm definitely there with you. I would love to collaborate and make some stuff happen, man. There's so much to do, Kevin.
yeah.
You and me alone and your group alone will not even be able to scrape the surface
Thank
as
you
much
very
as we think.
much.
That's
Thank you.
how much
Because
work is
because
needed.
people will be threatened by other groups coming up. Yo, we need other
We
people to
need
come
it.
on board.
We need it,
It's a
brother.
big
Like you said,
task.
we need superheroes.
Yeah, we
We need
need heroes now.
heroes.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. We need heroes now. So
Yeah,
all the
brother.
hero movies you were watching, it's time to be it now.
It's time to act. It's time to actualize that now. Get your
Yeah.
capes, all right, and get your mask. We getting out there.
Yeah. All right,
Yeah,
bro.
man, Kevin.
Yeah. Thank you for I really enjoyed this conversation. Let's
Definitely,
continue
brother.
the journey from strength to strength. Upward,
Strength to strength.
forward.
Upward
Upward,
and forward.
forward. All right.
Upward and forward
Let's
always. All
let's
right.
move. All right.
See you guys next time.
Yes.
All
All
right.
right.